My husband told his artist friends, Maya's FDA approval? Dumb luck. Any competent scientist could replicate her work. I'm the real talent in this relationship. They laughed, raising their champagne glasses in agreement. I stood in the doorway of the gallery, holding the coat check ticket for the event I'd funded with $50,000. I smiled, walked into the room, and said, "Congratulations on your show, Jordan. The paintings are beautiful." Then I turned to the gallery owner. "I'm withdrawing my funding. Effective immediately." That night, my brother sent me a text that made my hands shake. I suppose I should back up. 10 years ago, I met Jordan Hayes at a fundraiser for the Boston Children's Hospital. I was a resident, exhausted from 30-hour shifts, wearing a dress I'd borrowed from my roommate because I owned nothing that wasn't scrubs or sweatpants. Jordan was the artist hired to create a mural for the new pediatric wing, and he had this way of making even the hospital's fluorescent lighting seem romantic. He painted while I worked. He'd send me photos of his progress at 3 in the morning, knowing I'd be awake, finishing charts. For the kids who need hope, he'd write, "Just like you give them." 6 months later, we were engaged. A year after that, married in a small ceremony at the Cambridge Public Library, surrounded by medical texts and his sketches. Jordan's art career was always on the verge of breaking through. That's what he told me, at least. The gallery show in New York that fell through because the curator didn't understand his vision. The residency in Florence that cost me $120,000, which he spent painting 3 canvases he later destroyed, because they weren't authentic enough. The studio equipment I bought for $80,000 that sat mostly unused in the corner of our loft, collecting dust while he complained about creative blocks. I kept track, not out of resentment, but because my mother had taught me something important when I went to medical school. "Maya," she'd said, pulling me aside the night before I left for Johns Hopkins, "always know where your money goes." My mother didn't, and when my father left, she had nothing. "You're going to be a doctor. You'll make good money. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for keeping track of it." So I tracked. The $50,000 for his latest gallery show. The $40,000 for networking trips to art fairs in Miami, Basel, and Los Angeles, where he'd return with business cards and promises but never sales. The $315,000 I'd invested in his dreams over 10 years, while my own student loans sat at $260,000, growing interest I paid faithfully every month. I didn't mind supporting him. That's what partners do, I told myself. He was there for me through residency, through my fellowship, through the brutal years of establishing myself in biotech. He cooked dinner when I worked late. He reminded me to sleep. He made our loft feel like a home instead of just a place I collapsed between shifts. But something shifted after I became chief medical officer at Helix Therapeutics 3 years ago. Small things at first. The way he'd dismiss my excitement about clinical trials. "It's just following protocols, Maya. Anyone with a biology degree could do your job." The way he'd interrupt me at dinner parties when I talked about work. "Let's not bore everyone with pharmacy talk. Jordan, tell them about your new series." His friends started coming over more often. Thursday nights became sacred. Artist collective meetings, he called them. Marcus, who sold maybe 2 paintings a year. Trevor, whose sculptures were made from trash he found on the street. David, who called himself a performance artist but hadn't performed anywhere except our living room. They'd drink the wine I bought, eat the food I ordered, sit on the furniture I'd paid for, and I'd hear them through my home office door. "The problem with corporate science," Jordan would say, his voice carrying that performative depth he used when he wanted to sound profound, "is that it's soulless. Just chemicals and profits. Real creation comes from here." I imagined him pointing to his heart. "Maya doesn't get it," Marcus would add. "She's too logical. No offense to your wife, Jordan, but she's missing the artist's eye." I'd sit at my desk, reviewing drug trial data that could save children's lives, and wonder when my husband had started letting his friends insult me in my own home. The Thursday before the gallery opening, I worked late. A crisis with our Phase 3 trial. Potential contamination in one batch. I didn't get home until 11. The loft was dark except for the studio corner, where Jordan stood in front of a canvas, brush in hand, wine glass nearby. "How was your day?" I asked. Setting my bag down. He didn't turn around. "Fine. The trial data looks better. We might have dodged the contamination issue." "That's good." His brush moved across the canvas in angry strokes. Jordan? Are you okay? He finally turned, and his face held something I couldn't quite name. Not anger, exactly. Something colder. You know what Marcus said today? He said you're the reason I haven't made it yet. That I'm too comfortable. That real artists suffer, and you've made it so I don't have to. I stared at him. You want to suffer? I want you to understand that not everything is about data and trials and FDA approvals. Some things matter more than your career. My career that pays for this loft? For your studio? For the show opening in 3 days? His expression hardened. There it is. I knew you'd throw money in my face eventually. I was too tired to fight. I went to bed, and Jordan stayed in his studio until dawn. The gallery opening was on a Friday night. I left work early. Got my hair done at a salon I couldn't really afford, but Jordan insisted would make the right impression on potential buyers. I wore a black cocktail dress, the expensive one I'd bought for medical conferences. Jordan had requested I look successful. You're part of my brand now, he'd said. The successful wife supporting her artist husband. The gallery was in the south end, all exposed brick and track lighting. Jordan's paintings covered 2 walls, large abstract pieces that I genuinely found beautiful, even if I didn't always understand them. The opening was crowded. People drinking wine, nibbling cheese, pretending to understand art. Jordan worked the room like he was born to it, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, laughing at jokes. I stood by the wine table, checking my phone. Dr. Lisa Patel, my colleague, had texted, "How's the show?" Jordan must be thrilled. I was typing a response when I heard it. The gallery's back room, where they kept extra wine and the coats. The door was cracked open, and Jordan's voice floated out clearly. Maya's FDA approval? Dumb luck. Any competent scientist could replicate her work. I'm the real talent in this relationship. I froze, my finger hovering over my phone screen. Marcus laughed. Does she know you feel that way? Maya doesn't know anything except protocols and paperwork. She thinks getting a drug approved makes her special. I've been carrying this relationship artistically and emotionally for years. Trevor's voice joined in. At least she funds your work, man. My girlfriend just complains about money. Funding isn't support, Jordan said, and I could picture him swirling his wine glass, the gesture he used when he wanted to seem thoughtful. Real support is understanding. Maya doesn't understand art. She doesn't understand me. She's just a pill pusher with good test scores. They laughed again. Through the crack in the door, I could see them toasting, glasses clinking together. Celebrating my husband's contempt for me at an event I'd paid for in a gallery I'd funded, surrounded by people drinking wine I'd bought. The coat check girl approached me. "Mom? Are you all right?" I realized I'd been standing there for several minutes, frozen. I handed her my ticket, took my coat, and walked back into the gallery. Jordan stood near his largest painting, talking to a potential buyer. I walked up to them, waited for a pause in conversation, and smiled. "Jordan, the paintings are beautiful. You should be very proud." He blinked, surprised. "Maya. I didn't see you come in. I've been here for an hour." I turned to the gallery owner, who'd appeared at Jordan's elbow. "Bethany, I need to speak with you about the funding agreement." Her smile faltered. "Is there a problem?" "I'm withdrawing my $50,000. Effective immediately." The conversation around us stopped. The potential buyer backed away slowly. Jordan's face went white. "Maya, what are you?" "You should find somewhere else to sleep tonight," I said quietly. "Not our loft. Somewhere else." I walked out of the gallery into the Boston night, leaving behind 10 years of supporting someone who saw my achievements as lucky accidents and my career as a joke. My phone rang before I'd made it 2 blocks. "Jordan." I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. A text came through. "Maya. You're embarrassing me in front of buyers. What is wrong with you?" Another text, from my brother David, "Call me. Now." "It's about Jordan." I called him from my car. "Maya, I didn't want to tell you this before the show, but I can't keep quiet anymore." David's voice was tight with anger. "I hired a private investigator 3 months ago." "You what?" "Jordan's been acting weird at family dinners. Secretive. And last Christmas, when you were on call, he made some comments about how he'd be set for life soon, once your company IPO'd. It didn't sit right." "David, what did you find?" "Jordan's been recording you." At work, at home. He's got hours of footage of you in your home office, talking to yourself while you work, having phone calls with colleagues. He's been editing it to make you look obsessive. Crazy. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Why? I'm sending you a file. Maya, he's planning to divorce you and claim spousal support. His lawyer's been building a case that you're a workaholic who neglected him emotionally. But that's not the worst part. What's the worst part? He filed a provisional patent last month. Using your research notes from the Helix trial. He changed some terminology and filed it under his name through some IP lawyer downtown. I think he's planning to sell it to Helix's competitors. I pulled over, my hands shaking so badly I couldn't drive. Send me everything. The file came through. Photos of Jordan following me at the hospital, taking pictures through windows. Screenshots of text messages between Jordan and Bethany, the gallery owner, that made my stomach turn. Not just an affair, though that was there too. Plans to claim credit for my work. Strategies to paint me as an unstable genius who'd stolen ideas from our conversations. One message from Jordan to his lawyer. She won't see it coming. Maya's too busy playing doctor to notice I've been documenting everything. When the company goes public, I'll have enough evidence to claim at least 40% of her shares. She owes me for 10 years of supporting her career. I sat in my car outside the gallery for 20 minutes, reading every document David had sent. Jordan had been planning this for almost a year. While I was running clinical trials, he was building a case to destroy me. While I was saving lives, he was plotting to steal my life's work. Dr. Lisa called. Maya, I just saw something weird. Jordan was at the hospital today, trying to access your office. Security stopped him, but he claimed he was bringing you lunch. I need you to check something for me, I said. My research files. The ones on my desk about the FDA submission. Are they still there? A pause. Hold on. I heard her walking, a door opening. Maya, your desk drawers are open. The files are gone. I drove to the loft, my loft, and let myself in with the key that Jordan didn't know I'd changed that afternoon. I'd texted my building manager from the gallery, and he'd met me in the parking garage with a new set. Jordan wasn't home yet. He was probably still at the gallery, trying to salvage his opening. I didn't pack his things. I had them packed. By a service. Professional movers who arrived at 8 p.m. And carefully boxed everything Jordan owned, everything that predated our marriage or that he'd brought into it. His clothes, his art supplies, his finished paintings, his records. By midnight, it was all stacked in the building's storage unit. What remained was everything I'd bought. The furniture, the kitchen equipment, the wine collection, the books. The loft looked emptier but cleaner, like I'd removed an infection and could finally breathe. Jordan came home at 1 a.m. His key didn't work. He pounded on the door. I opened it with the chain still latched. Maya, let me in. We need to talk about this. Your things are in storage unit 247. The code is your mother's birthday. You have 1 week to collect them. You can't just kick me out. I live here. No, Jordan. I live here. My name is on the lease. My money paid the rent. You were a guest who overstayed his welcome. This is insane. You're having some kind of breakdown. I held up my phone, showing him the screen. His own messages to his lawyer. I know about the provisional patent. I know about Bethany. I know about Operation Muse. That's what you called it, right? The recordings? His face cycled through emotions. Shock. Anger. Fear. Maya. Those messages are out of context. The patent was just I was trying to help with your research. By filing it under your name? To sell to Biogen? Biogen was Helix's biggest competitor. The company that would pay millions for early access to our trial data. You're paranoid. The stress of your job is making you. Jordan, stop. I already spoke to my lawyer. If you contact me again, if you come near Helix, if you even think about using my research, I will bury you in legal action you can't afford. You have no job, no money, and as of an hour ago, no gallery representation. Bethany called me. She's very sorry and very eager to avoid being named as an co-conspirator in IP theft. His face crumpled. Maya, please. I love you. We can work this out. You don't love me, Jordan. You never did. You loved my salary and my potential and the life I could give you. but you never loved me. I closed the door. The hospital board meeting was scheduled for Monday morning. I'd requested an emergency session, citing a security breach. Jordan had accessed the building 4 times in the past month, each time during visiting hours when security was relaxed. He'd photographed documents, tried to access my computer, even attempted to attend an investor presentation. He arrived at 7 a.m. with my lawyer, Patricia Kim, and a presentation that David had helped me prepare over the weekend. The boardroom filled slowly. Dr. Lisa, looking concerned. Our CEO, Marcus Werner, who'd been worried about the Phase 3 trial. Several investors. And then, at exactly 8 a.m., Jordan walked in. He was dressed in his best suit, the Hugo Boss one I'd bought him for my promotion dinner. His hair was styled, his face composed. He looked like he belonged there. Marcus stood. Mr. Hayes, this is a closed meeting. I have a right to be here, Jordan said, his voice confident. I'm Maya's husband, and I've become aware of some concerning patterns in her behavior that this board should know about. Patricia touched my arm, a silent message to let it play out. Jordan pulled out his phone, projecting onto the room's screen. Video of me at my desk, at 2 a.m., talking to myself while working through data. My wife is obsessive. She works 18-hour days. She neglects her health, her relationships, everything except her career. I've been documenting this because I'm concerned about her ability to make sound decisions for this company. Interesting, Patricia said, standing. Mr. Hayes, are you aware that recording someone without their consent in their private home office is illegal in Massachusetts? Jordan's confident expression flickered. Furthermore, Patricia continued, are you aware that the provisional patent you filed on October 12, using Dr. Chen's proprietary research, constitutes theft of intellectual property? The room went silent. I clicked to my first slide. Jordan's provisional patent application, side by side with my research notes. The language was identical, just rearranged. Even the diagrams were the same. For the record, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart, I've been Chief Medical Officer at Helix for 3 years. In that time, I've led the team that developed HX247, the drug currently in Phase 3 trials for pediatric leukemia. Our FDA approval came through 2 months ago. Our company's value has increased from $40 million to $450 million. My equity stake is currently worth $45 million. I clicked to the next slide. This is my husband's contribution to Helix Therapeutics over the same period. The slide was blank. Maya, this is vindictive, Jordan said, his voice rising. You're making me look bad because I called you out on your workaholism. No, Jordan. I'm making you look accurate. I clicked again. Here's a record of every dollar I've invested in your art career. $315,000 over 10 years. 0 sales. 0 return. 0 gallery representation as of Friday night. Marcus leaned forward. Dr. Chen, what exactly are you asking from this board? I'm asking for a restraining order barring Jordan Hayes from Helix property. I'm asking that security be briefed on his attempts to access proprietary information. And I'm asking that the board be aware that my soon-to-be ex-husband attempted to steal company IP to sell to Biogen. I clicked to the last slide. Screenshots of Jordan's messages to a Biogen executive, offering early trial data in exchange for $200,000. The room erupted. Marcus was on his phone immediately, presumably with corporate security. Lisa looked like she might be sick. The investors were whispering furiously. Jordan stood frozen, his face pale, realizing too late that his confidence had walked him into a trap. Security arrived within minutes. They escorted him out while he protested, his voice echoing down the hallway. Claiming this was all a misunderstanding, that I was having a breakdown, that he was the victim here. After he left, Marcus sat down heavily. Maya, I'm so sorry. If we'd known he was accessing the building, it's handled now, I said quietly. And it won't happen again. The divorce took 8 months. Jordan fought for spousal support, claiming he'd sacrificed his art career to support mine. Patricia demolished that argument by showing his complete lack of sales, the $315,000 in funding, and the prenuptial agreement that I'd insisted on before marriage, much to Jordan's dismay at the time. It's not romantic, he'd complained when we'd signed it 10 years ago. It's practical, my mother had said, watching us sign. Romance is for poems. Marriage is a contract. Jordan tried to claim emotional distress. Patricia showed the videos he'd recorded without my consent. He tried to claim credit for my medical insights, saying our conversations had inspired my research. Patricia brought in Lisa and 3 other colleagues who testified that Jordan had never attended a single company event, never shown interest in my work beyond what it could buy him, and had once loudly complained at a fundraiser that medicine was glorified chemistry. In the end, Jordan received nothing. 0 spousal support due to the prenup. 0 claim on my equity because the patent theft attempt demonstrated bad faith according to the judge. He kept his personal belongings and a Honda Civic that had been his before we married. I kept everything else. The week the divorce finalized, Helix went public. My shares were now worth $60 million. I bought a brownstone in Back Bay, not because I needed more space, but because I wanted something that was entirely mine. I hired an interior designer who filled it with modern furniture, clean lines, space to breathe. Jordan disappeared from social media. I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved to Portland, Oregon, trying to restart his art career. Then to Austin, Texas. Then to a shared apartment in Buffalo, New York, where he was working as a barista while painting on weekends. I didn't follow his journey. I was too busy living mine. Helix's drug, HX 247, received final FDA approval 18 months after our IPO. Pediatric leukemia survival rates increased by 37% in early trials. I was asked to give a keynote at the American Medical Association conference. Forbes did a profile. My mother framed it and hung it in her living room, next to my medical school diploma. 2 years after the divorce, I attended the Boston Art Fair with a colleague from work. Dr. Raymond Torres, our new head of clinical trials, who joined Helix 6 months prior. We weren't dating, exactly, but we weren't not dating either. He made me laugh. He understood my work. He never once called medicine glorified chemistry. We walked through the convention center, past booth after booth of artists displaying their work. Raymond was looking for something for his new apartment. I was just enjoying a Saturday that didn't involve clinical trials or board meetings. And then I saw him. Jordan, standing in a small booth in the far corner, near the bathrooms and the exit. His paintings were displayed on portable walls, smaller than I remembered his work being. Less ambitious. He looked thinner, older, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt instead of his usual carefully curated artist aesthetic. He saw me at the same moment. His eyes widened. He took a step forward, his mouth opening as if to speak. I looked at him for maybe 3 seconds. Long enough to register that he was there, that he existed, that this was a person I used to know. Then I looked away and kept walking. Maya? Raymond asked. You okay? Fine, I said, stopping at a booth selling vibrant watercolors. What do you think of this one? The blues would look good in your office. Behind us, I heard Jordan's voice, calling my name. I didn't turn around. Raymond glanced back, then at me, reading the situation perfectly. I love the blues, he said, steering me deeper into the fair. Let's find more like this. We spent another hour at the fair. Bought 3 paintings. Had lunch at the restaurant upstairs. Raymond told me about his research. I told him about my week. Neither of us mentioned the artist in the corner booth near the bathrooms. That evening, sitting in my brownstone with my new paintings propped against the wall, I got a text from an unknown number. Maya, please. Can we talk? I want to apologize properly. What happened between us, I was wrong. I know that now. Can we meet for coffee? I looked at the message for a long moment. Then I blocked the number and deleted the text. Some people think revenge is about destruction, about tearing someone else down. But the truest revenge is building something so magnificent that the person who tried to destroy you becomes irrelevant. Not worth hating. Not worth thinking about. Just someone who once existed in your life and then didn't. Jordan had called me a pill pusher with dumb luck. He'd said any competent scientist could do my job. He'd tried to steal my work, my money, my reputation. And now he stood in a corner booth at an art fair while I gave keynote addresses about saving children's lives. I'd won. Not by destroying him, though I could have. I'd won by becoming someone so successful that his opinion of me simply didn't matter anymore. That night, as I hung my new paintings in my home office, next to my medical degree and my FDA approval certificate, I thought about the girl I'd been 10 years ago. The exhausted resident who'd believed that love meant endless compromise. Who'd made herself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. I thought about what I'd say to her if I could. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to save lives and build empires, and discover that the only person's opinion that matters is your own. You're going to learn that supporting someone's dreams doesn't mean abandoning your own. And one day, you're going to look at someone who tried to destroy you and feel absolutely nothing. The silence of indifference is the most powerful sound in the world. If Maya's journey from betrayal to triumph resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. My favorite moment was her looking past Jordan at the art fair, pure, quiet strength. What was yours? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't miss more stories of resilience, justice, and rising above. Subscribe to the Veiled Bonds and ring that notification bell for more true stories of standing up and never looking back.